I would personally like to take, on my behalf and the team's behalf, a debt of gratitude to our parents and to anybody who has helped us or put up with us. I know there are some friends in the audience who have not seen their friends for a while because they've been at speech practice, and their Saturdays are consumed at distant high schools far away with strange kids. I'd also like to say, from a personal experience, this is my third year doing speech. I am Patrick Hobby, speech team president, by the way. Forgot that part. It's okay. I'd like to take a personal note to say that for those of you who don't know someone personally on the speech team, speech affects someone's life completely. I would not be the person I am today if I had not done speech. I would not have the friends, I would not have the influences, I would not have the support that I know that I have if I had not done speech. I have a staff of coaches, I have a wonderful family that supports me, and I know that each member on the team can say the same thing. So, on that note, I would like to welcome you all to attend this wonderful speech showcase that we have. We have a team full of absolutely wonderful kids who are amazingly talented and who would really like to show you just how talented they are and how much work we put into this. So without further ado, our speech showcase.
Impromptu enjoys a relaxed atmosphere, similar to the format of extemp. Each round, you draw 3 quotations out of an envelope and decide which one you like best. Quotes can be about anything, and I mean anything. At that point, you have 7 minutes total to prepare and present a speech with personal examples and lessons from life. The best speakers use 2 minutes to prep and 5 minutes to actually give their speech. And just like impromptu, United States and international extemporaneous speaking require off-the-cut speaking and elicit different performances each time. Throughout the season, you research current political events and assemble a box of evidence that you can take to the tournaments. And at the tournaments, you draw from each envelope and have 3 questions, and you pick one to discuss. And then you are given 30 minutes to prep the question, and then using your files, you can create a 5 to 7 minute speech. It's best to use 7 minutes. And then U.S. focuses on domestic issues, while foreign focuses on world issues. For our purposes today, speakers will forego prep time and speak for an abbreviated length. Thank you. My mom's the type of mom who doesn't typically like screaming, shouting, and yelling when I do something wrong. Rather, she likes to sit me down and discuss the problems we have so that we can find a common solution. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once stated, "A riot is at bottom the language of the unheard." I believe what this man was trying to tell us is that no matter how much one screams, yells, and shouts, so much more will be accomplished if we just sit down and discuss our problems so that both of us can listen and understand and respond. I can show you this in 3 different ways. First, through Dr. King himself. Second, through Mother Teresa. And third, through the book, The Last Song. So now that we've examined this quote and we know what it means, we can see it through the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Many of us know Dr. King as one of the world's greatest civil rights activists. But he didn't get to this position by starting riots and yelling and screaming at people to change their ways. Rather, Martin Luther King Jr. set up speeches and urged people to believe in the same things he did. Because he was civil about discussing his beliefs with other people, he was able to accomplish so much and change the world as we recognize it today. Not only is this evident through Dr. King, but it is also evident through the blessed and holy Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a woman who changed people's lives and made them better and healthier. But she traveled all throughout the country. Because there's so many different cultures and beliefs in all these countries, she had to recognize that these people were different from her. Because she recognized that, she was able to accept it, sit down with these people, and discuss how they could lead healthier and better lives for themselves. Because she did this, people were able to have dinner in front of them to eat, a roof over their head, and even a bed to sleep in. Because Mother Teresa was civil, she changed the lives for people for so much better than they would have ever been. Not only is this evident through Mother Teresa's blessed life, but also through Nicholas Sparks' book, The Last Song. The character Ronnie travels to North Carolina to stay the summer with her father, against her will. She's the typical teenage daughter. She's a rebel. She goes out late at night to early in the morning without telling her father where she is, who she's hanging out with, or what she's doing. So her father, instead of yelling and screaming at her and causing disruption at home, decides to sit her down and discuss with her why these actions are wrong. Because he takes a different approach on things, she changes over this short summer with her father. She has a better outlook on the world and all people around her. Because of this, she is so much happier. So just like Ronnie's father, Martin Luther King Jr., and Mother Teresa, I urge all of you to do the same thing. Speak rationally with others. There's no need for screaming and yelling and shouting, because Dr. King said it best when he stated, "A riot is at bottom the language of the unheard." Thank you.
In order to accommodate its large immigrant population, the city of Portsmouth, England has long administered its taxi driver licensing test in a number of different languages. However, some think that they've taken this a step too far by administering the test in Braille. Certainly, the blind should not be excluded from today's society, but they probably shouldn't be driving around either. Clearly, the city of Portsmouth made a blatant mistake and thus did not live up to the obligations that had been set to it as a government. In much the same way, the New York Times reported on November 19, 2009, that currently many in Europe are concerned that Germany will not live up to its obligations. Germany is far and away the largest economic power in all of Europe, and as the old saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. However, some think that the obligations that have been put upon Germany will not be able to be fulfilled, and thus we're forced to ask ourselves today's question. Will Germany be able to fulfill its obligations as Europe's economic leader? The answer to this question is an obvious yes, because in fact Germany has done everything that Europe has called upon it to do. To further examine this issue, we'll look at three main facets of information. First, we will examine how Germany came to this position of economic power. Secondly, how Germany is helping its fellow European nations. And finally, how Germany is also using its economic power abroad to help improve the status of Europe. As the International Herald Tribune reported on November 18, 2009, Germany is clearly Europe's largest economy, and it's gotten that way because of its substantial export market. Germany is currently the world's second largest exporter of goods, second only to China. Additionally, Germany has a very strong financial system. Its banks were one of the few system of banks in the world that were able to fully withstand the recent recession, and it's been putting this economic power to very good use. As the Council on Foreign Relations reported on January 19, 2010, Germany has been using its economic stature to help Greece. Recently, the Greeks have been experiencing an unprecedented sovereign debt crisis. The Greeks had racked up so much debt that they have started to default on many of their payments. As a result, their economy had been thrown into catastrophe, but Germany came to the rescue with a substantial financial restructuring plan, and it is also ready to come forth with major economic aid should the need present itself. Moreover, as Wolfgang Kritzel of the German Center for Strategic and International Studies opined on February 18, 2010, Germany is also helping Europe by using its financial powers abroad. Because Germany has such great trading relations with countries all over the world, it has diplomatic relations with countries all over the world. This has become especially evident when it comes to Russia. Because Germany has very close trade partnerships with Russia, it has been able to bring Europe and Russia much closer together in recent years. Thank you.
Former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin has often criticized President Obama's use of speaking aids. Most notably, she referred to the president as a charismatic guy with a teleprompter. However, while addressing a crowd in Nashville last week, Palin was caught repeatedly looking down during her speech. Eventually, news cameras caught a close-up of the would-be vice president and discovered that she was concealing notes written on her left hand. Though this is not the worst political blunder of all time, it does highlight that talking tough about your opponent is only wise if you can back it up. In much the same way, Turkey has been talking tough about losing its negative public image, moving away from the bully that it once was to the friend that everyone wants to have. But according to Sarah Binder, senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, on February 1st, 2010, Turkey has a long and bumpy road ahead of them. Since 1984, nearly 40,000 people have perished in violence between Turkey and the Kurds, which is an ethnic population that has simply been wandering for nearly a decade and has not found a stable home. This information is forcing us to pose today's question. Can anything be done for Turkey to exist peacefully with the Kurds? The answer to this question is a definitive yes, because the situation is still salvageable. In order to better explain this answer, we will examine three key facets. First, we'll see how Turkey must issue a formal apology. Second, we'll note how the Kurdish Workers' Party must be subdued. And finally, how Turkey has to accept international aid. The first step for a formal relationship between the Kurds and the Turks to occur is for Turkey to issue a formal apology. Now, this may seem juvenile and revert us back to the times when we were playing in the sandbox with our best friends, but somehow ended up throwing sand at one another and getting into a fight. Immediately, our moms rushed over and told us to say we're sorry. Now, we can apply this microcosm of the sandbox to the macrocosm that is this international issue. For the New York Times stated on February 26, 2010, that the first step for good relations between Turkey and the Kurds is for Turkey to issue a formal apologies for the past actions that have been so violent. The reason that the Kurds have retaliated at all. Now, this isn't without realm of possibility for the people of Turkey, as they already have issued many apologies. The Brookings Institution stated on March 1st, 2010 that Turkey has issued apologies to Armenia and Syria, both for transgressions that have happened in the past, yet have continued with a grudge to the present day. Now, the same thing can happen with the Kurds. Why not? Why can't we enact this simple idea and make a beautiful relationship out of it? The Harvard International Review stated on February 26, 2010, that if Turkey issues this formal apology, it won't only show that they want to have a good face for the international community, but rather that they actually want a good, cooperative, and strongly based relationship with the Kurds. Obviously, this is all summarizing to the fact that Turkey can, in fact, bring peace if it just takes a step and issues an apology. Thank you.
It seems that in our world today, there is an equation to describe almost everything. The area of a circle is pi r squared. The area of a trapezoid is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. There is even an equation to describe the perfect pancake toss. According to the Encyclopedia of Useless Information, the angular velocity of a pancake flipped from a metal frying pan is equal to its acceleration due to gravity times pi divided by 4 times the radius. In this instance, the radius is the distance from the elbow to the center of the pancake. But while there seems to be an equation to describe every phenomena in our world, there doesn't seem to be an equation to describe how recent Iraqi elections will affect the long-term struggle of Iraq to regain its legitimacy as a nation. As thousands upon thousands of Iraqi voters poured into the polls on Sunday, March 7th, to cast their ballot for Iraq's future, the question remains: how will these elections affect Iraq's future? The answer is that these elections will allow Iraq to progress as a nation rather than regress into its previous state of political turmoil. And we will examine this answer by expounding upon three key areas: how the elections will affect the United States troop pullout, how the elections will affect refugees by encouraging them to come home, and how the elections will affect corruption in the Iraqi regime. President Obama has stated, according to a Time magazine article from January 16, 2010, that he would like to have all troops, pulled out of Iraq by the middle of 2011. With tens upon thousands of troops in Iraq trying to control a state of political turmoil that seems to have no end in sight, it doesn't seem possible that President Obama will be able to pull out every troop by then. If these elections were to bring about a stable Iraqi government, it would work wonders in helping President Obama be able to bring about his plan of letting the Iraqi government exist legitimately by itself. This plan, which President Obama hopes to execute as quickly as possible, may even happen sooner depending on the success of the elections. And while it seems that the elections may be mired by fraud or other such problems, we can rest assured that the Iraqi government will be able to maintain legitimacy amidst all problems. Thank you.
Americans are known for persevering through challenges and overcoming obstacles. This is why when NASA discovered that pens do not write in space, they took the challenge and developed a new special type of ink that astronauts could use. After spending tens of thousands of dollars to develop this new ink, the American astronauts were shocked to find that their Russian counterparts on the International Space Station had developed a solution to the very same problem with a 5-cent lead pencil, thus proving that the best solution to a problem is not always the most complex one. In much the same way, we can see that there's actually a very simple solution to trying to pass healthcare reform successfully and effectively. And we can see, according to an article taken from the Brookings Institute, dated February 18th, 2010, the best way to do this will be to simply work towards bipartisanship in our country, or in other words, both Democrats and Republicans working together for a common goal instead of bickering like we see so often. With all of this in mind, we can examine today's question. The Healthcare Summit, good policymaking or just good politics? We will see that the answer to this question is simply just good politics because there was actually no ground made on getting a new policy passed. We will expound upon this through three key areas of analysis. First, we will examine why the summit was held. Second, we will look at what exactly occurred at the summit. And third, finally, and perhaps most importantly, we will examine why it is indeed more politics than it was policy making. It can be seen by taking one simple glance at the American economy these days to see that healthcare is having a negative impact upon it. And much of this has to do with the lack of doctors that we have in the United States. As told to us by an article taken from Newsweek, dated March 1st of 2010, the lack of doctors that we have can cause visits to a doctor to take anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks to take place from when you call to schedule an appointment. What this does is it allows illnesses to manifest inside of people, and thus it can get so bad that they may indeed have to visit a hospital. Hospital bills can be hundreds of dollars worse than a visit to a simple family doctor, and so it hurts the economy and people because they have less money to put back into our economy. And President Obama was aware of this when he took office in January of last year. As told to us by an article taken from the Washington Post, dated February 18th of 2010, he knew that healthcare reform had to be at the top of his list of things to do. And so he tried diligently for months and months to get a healthcare reform bill passed. And unfortunately, in January of this year, he got a little bit of a speed bump in the road. When the Democrats lost their supermajority in the Senate, or 60 to 40 majority needed to pass a bill, they lost this when Martha Coakley, the Democratic nominee in Massachusetts, was overtaken by Scott Brown, the Republican, and eventually lost the election. This lost a supermajority and our ability to pass a bill easily. And so now we need a Republican vote to pass a bill in our country. And unfortunately, we do not have the bipartisanship necessary to do so. And this is why the Healthcare Summit was held, to simply work towards bipartisanship with leaders of both sides meeting together and working towards a common goal. Thank you.
Two men walk into a bar. You'd think one of them would have seen it coming. This hilarious, side-splitting anecdote, and other ones like it, make up the category of humorous interpretation. In humor, one must act out a funny story while acting the characters distinctly, coherently, and consistently. To do so, each character must have a different voice, as well as a different focal point. And on top of that, each character must have a different facial. And to top this all off, each character must also have a different body position. And the best humorists will make their transitions between characters as distinctly and coherent, as crisp and as clean as possible. These things, as well as a funny cut, make up a great humorous interpretation.
Duo interpretation is a two-person event in which the participants must act out and convey a story in order to take the audience to a particular time or place.
But,
There are a few simple rules.
such as you can't look or touch each other, but other than that, it's pretty simple.
Like humorous in duo, dramatic interpretation is a presentation of a character or characters. The goal of drama is to transport the audience to the time and place being portrayed. While similar to other events of interpretation, drama tends to deal with more serious subject matter. Death, violence, mental, and terminal illness are all common themes expressed in drama. Similar to humor, drama deals with different body positions and focal points and the voices to convey the message expressed in the piece. Creative characterization, along with interpretation, is the key to successful dramatic interpretation.
The people of Wakefield are in trouble. The dam that casts a shadow over their town is going to be torn down by the government, thus flooding everything in its path. However, the Wakefieldians won't go without a fight. They're taking this matter to court. And there to document the happenings is me, author Russell Hoax. Wakefield, the can-do town that just may not, by Amy Sedaris, Paul Dinello, and Stephen Colbert. I first spoke with State Representative William Farber about his desire to tear down the dam, thus upsetting tens of Wakefieldian lives. Mr. Farber, question number one, do you enjoy destroying lives? What? That's absurd! I'll put down yes. Look, that dam has no business being there. It provides no benefits, no irrigation, and no electricity. It provides one thing, Mr. Farber. Well, what's that? Hope. Hope for the town of Wakefield. Now, wait a second. Wakefield isn't even a town. It's just an unincorporated, illegal settlement on the dry bed of a former river. Had he no heart, there had to be some political body in Wakefield that could battle against the anti-dam forces. I knew that a vital part of this story was the mayor's. Well, both of them, Halstead and Hollinger. I set forth to find one of these mayors, but my attention is brought to a tiny man in a police uniform. I'm the chief of police under Charles Halstead, who is the legitimately self-declared mayor of Wakefield. The enormous dwarf tells me his name is Hoyt Gang. Now, you might have heard a couple of other fellas shooting their mouths claim to be mayor, but my man is the real deal. If he wasn't, then how could I be chief of police? Think about it. I haven't because I don't have to, because I know he's the mayor. See what I mean? Hoyt asked that I follow him out to his van, and throwing open the rear cargo door, he displayed a man elaborately seatbelted into a lawn chair. I'm one of the mayors! Mayor Halstead, it is a pleasure. I like fudge! It's chocolatey! And sweets! Okay, go on. It feels good in my mouth, but it makes me thirsty. Author's note, that's what she said. I have a briefcase. I keep fudge in there. Now, just because I have to help him dress himself doesn't mean he is not fit to hold office. He is not my puppet by any means and is competent to run a third of this town. Now, although Halstead's political agenda seemed a bit unfocused and oddly fudge-centric, it was clear there was some infrastructure. I had to move on, though. I had a deadline, after all. Mayor Fleet Hollinger would complete the trifecta of local leadership. You might have heard there are some other mayors around town, but that's just a bunch of bull. We are a town in trouble. Our court case against the state is just a week away, and we need to rally around one mayor. I think it is important that two of the many mayors around town should be illegalized and gone. And that is why I humbly offered to accept their resignations. Can you comment on the case? I think we have a pretty strong case. It seems that the government just sees Wakefieldians as a bunch of squatters who accumulated at the bottom of a dried riverbed and in response to rumors of the dam being torn down, suddenly called themselves a town, so that if they were forced to move, they would be financially compensated by the government. Bureaucrats, how ridiculous. We are a community and we are not going anywhere. So courageous. Until the state can explain to us financially why we must leave. After an 11-day gap, the three mayors met up at what was previously a morgue, but is now the town hall. Representative Farber has informed the three that he will be addressing them there today. I sit in on this meeting with great eagerness. What I have to tell you three is very simple. You win. The state has decided to not tear down the dam. Yeah, all right, we won! Tear it down or don't tear it down. I don't give a damn, as long as you pay up. You don't understand. The state is not obligated to pay compensatory damages if no such damages occur. I understand that, but what does that break down to per person? 0! The state is giving you no money. Good day, gentlemen. Victory! I'm sure the town of Wakefield would like to offer me their gratitude for my diligent reporting, my endless support, and I accept. As Bill Farber exits, hiding his defeat behind a mischievous grin. The three mayors sit silent, as they are unable to comprehend the good fortune that has just been bestowed upon them. What the hell? Fudge! God damn it! Well, this was a great win for small-town America. So long, Wakefield. Thank you.
Marlene and Charlene. People thought we must be twins. There was a fashion in those days for naming twins in rhyme. Bonnie and Connie, Ronald and Donald, and then of course we, Charlene and I. Every year when you're a child, you become a different person. For a long while, the past seems to drop off of you easily, and it seems automatic, proper. Its scenes don't vanish, so much has become irrelevant. I haven't kept up with Charlene. I don't even remember how we said goodbye. I suppose there was talk in our house afterwards. How sad, how awful. The poor thing. Children can hate the things they fear. As people age, that fear and ignorance can turn into hate. Marlene's childhood was filled with fear and ignorance towards one thing, one girl, Verna. When she meets Charlene at summer camp, she finally has someone to talk to about this creepy girl. But when Verna arrives at that camp, their lives are changed forever. In Alice Munro's Child's Play, Marlene takes us through a childhood experience she tries so hard to forget. Child's Play by Alice Munro. There were discouraging clouds in the sky that day, but nothing was going to stop us from enjoying the last swim of summer. There were some good swimmers among us. This included Charlene and me. Usually the counselors would strike out right away and stay in the deeper water and make sure no one got into trouble. The